Now, the government has insisted that tomorrow's children's referendum will go ahead despite yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, which found that the information campaign is in breach of the law, well, specifically the McKenna judgment. The court ruled the government used public money for its campaign in a manner that wasn't fair, equal or impartial. Joining us this morning to discuss is CEO of Barnardo's, Fergus Finlay, who of course has been advocating a yes, and former MEP Cathy Sinnot, who is on the no side. Good morning, Fergus. Good morning, Cathy. Thank you both very much for joining us. Fergus, I've just said it to you there before we started. If you were on the other side of this debate, you would be furious at the abusive position in power, and I think you'd also probably be appalled by the lack of contrition on the government's part. Their attitude yesterday was astonishing.
Well, I didn't hear an awful lot of what the government said yesterday. I hope they apologised.
They didn't, and I heard two ministers being asked on both occasions, and they refused.
If they didn't, they should have. I mean, it's obviously a mess. It's I assume a mistake made in good faith within the document. We don't know yet what particular bits of the document, the government's document, the Supreme Court has found objectionable, because they're going to spell that out in detail later. I have to admit I was a bit surprised myself, because it's not a document that actually urges people to vote yes. It doesn't anywhere in the document say vote yes. But obviously the Supreme Court found that whatever way it was structured, or its language or its tone or something, was leading people in a particular direction, and that shouldn't have happened.
How did it happen, by the way? I mean, between the Referendum Commission and the AG's office, they would have been all over this like a rash.
Well, I doubt if the Referendum Commission did. The Referendum Commission produces its own document, and of course that's in every household in Ireland, and the Supreme Court has found no problem whatsoever with that. They don't look at other people's material. It's up to our side, or the no side, or the government to try to make sure that what it publishes is accurate and fair. And in this case, the government messed up.
A huge own goal, the price of which you may pay very heavily for come tomorrow. Cathy, a lot of people, even people who are not entirely sure about which way they were going to go yet, will be looking at what the Supreme Court said yesterday and think to themselves, we need more time now. We really actually need to hear more of this. So I presume you're leading the call for it to be postponed or deferred.
Well, I think we absolutely need more time. This is one of the most important amendments we've ever had. It's nothing short of introducing state control of children and childhood, and the removal of parents' rights to protect their children. This is how serious this amendment is. And what the Supreme Court found yesterday is that extensive passages of a very expensive government campaign, and not just government, Frances Fitzgerald's campaign, it was her department put this out, had misstatements about the effect of this referendum. They had misstatement about the effects of this referendum, and that extensive passages breached the law. In other words, they were pushing for a yes, a one-sided propaganda exercise. And when you consider what this referendum is about, state control of children, it is absolutely astounding that they were trying to cheat us with our own money to pull the wool over our eyes.
Okay, before we go any further, we did ask for a government spokesperson on this. They were not available. Now, you talk about propaganda, and there is no question about it, that, and certainly the government's attitude yesterday, their unwillingness to apologise. They said, yes, we have overstepped the mark, but they are so convinced of their righteousness that they felt that this was justified. It was astonishing listening to, particularly Sean O'Rourke trying to get Alan Shatter to even address the problem. But aside from all of that, Cathy, you can say it's a propaganda exercise on the government's part, and overpowering, and a hammer to smash an egg and all the rest of it. But your side has used very emotive words like state control of children. Now, I'm not. But
that's true. That is an accurate description of what we're talking about. From the very first section of this amendment, they're talking about all children, that the state affirms the rights of all children. In our Constitution, the parents, the family affirms the rights of all children. The state only affirms the rights when parents fail.
Okay, Ferguson.
So it is state control of all children.
Ferguson.
Can I say a couple of things? First of all, the Supreme Court, as Cathy says, did find that parts of the document were inaccurate and so on.
Extensive passages.
They also found that the substance of this issue is one to be decided by the people on Saturday. It is the people's democratic right to settle this question. And I hope we wouldn't disagree about that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
If you want to talk about propaganda, however, I can't imagine a more pure example of propaganda than to describe this as state control of children. What this document does is it gives all of our children, and particularly vulnerable children, the right to be better protected, respected and heard than they have had in the past. It obliges the state to affirm those rights, as the state affirms, for example, the right to private property, the right to free expression, the right to assemble, and the right to life of the unborn. Those rights are already in the Constitution to be affirmed and given effect to by the state. That is an obligation on the state. To describe that as giving the state control over our children is nothing short of an attempt to frighten.
Why do you say that? I mean, and that is an emotional phrase to use. And also, I'm not ascribing these remarks to you, but other people on the North side have said the state will become a member of your family. Richard Green, I heard him say that. They will take your children and they will vaccinate them. I read on it some leaflet somewhere.
Wait a second.
So
I can be excused for being very emotional about this. I'm a parent. I'm a grandparent. I'm also the guardian of nieces and nephews who live with me. This is very, very emotional because this is, and the most accurate term for this is state control of children. You may not like that term, but that's what it is. But let's address the emotional blackmail.
No, define state control of children.
Okay, right now it is the family that protects the rights of children. If the parents fail, the state then protects the rights of children. Right? It's a very, very good system which the state has ignored to the neglect and the abuse of children for decades in this country.
Surely this will allow the state to intervene?
No, this actually weakens the state's responsibility to children. It makes the state unaccountable in their neglect, and it increases their control over children and over families. The wording is there. I beg people to, there isn't much time left to read that wording. I use these terms because they're very, very accurate. But if we want to talk about emotional blackmail, all over this country we have Yes for Children. No explanation of what's really going on in this thing. It's not about vulnerable children. The state have always had the ability to take care of those. There is emotional blackmail, and what I want to say to voters is if you love children, vote no. Absolutely vote no. Don't succumb to this blackmail.
Burgess.
I don't know what blackmail Cathy is talking about.
Yes for children. Children matter. If children matter, vote no.
Children do matter.
Okay, Fergus, can I throw one of your quotes at you?
Matter.
You say that the referendum will be a statement of intent towards the nation's children and will oblige the state to perform better than they have towards them. Now, given that you've seen firsthand and been very vocal about the neglect of the state, do you honestly believe that the system as it now operates can actually perform better? And should we in actual fact be having a different debate about how broken the system is?
I think we should be having both debates, Mark. I think we should be having both. I've no doubt about that. I've said publicly, I've said it in writing, I've said it all over the country. I've attended dozens of public meetings, not trying to blackmail people, trying to answer people's questions, trying to inform. And I think virtually every public meeting I've said, we're not going to wake up the morning after we vote yes, as I hope we do, and discover that every child in Ireland is suddenly healthier, happier, safer, better protected and better cared for. There's a huge amount of additional work to be done, an enormous amount of additional battles to be fought over resources, over structures, over accountability, over legal changes. All of that is going on, and I can go into the detail of all of it if you want me to. But the answer to state neglect in the past, and look, Mark, I've read 7,500 pages over the last while of the reports that have been written. Not just the huge big reports like Ryan and...
Fergus, I'm sorry to cut across you. You understand in these matters I have to be balanced, right? We've got a little time left. I want to give you both 30 seconds each to say why should we vote yes?
Well, let me use my 30 seconds to finish that point. In all of those reports, the same word crops up again and again and again. It's the word culture. A culture where children don't matter, a culture where institutions matter more. This is our opportunity to begin to change that culture by putting children at the heart of the Constitution, of our Constitution. We own it, we can do it.
Cathy.
The fact is, in this country, we have a culture among parents, among communities, among our towns and villages where children absolutely matter. The culture of neglect has been at top levels of the state. They've spent a lot of money to convince us to hide the true agenda in this referendum. They are, in 3 weeks' time, they're going to have the most anti-child budget, and Francis Fitzgerald and all of these people who have been telling us children matter are going to vote for that budget.
Okay.
People must vote no.
Our campaign against
People must vote no, and then we must insist and campaign to
Cathy,
take care of children.
I have to be even-handed and impartial. You both had your 30 seconds, or possibly a little more in each case. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.